What's good, everyone? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be covering why I trade gold, because I get this question a lot. Why are you always on gold? Like, why don't you trade Euro USD, GBP USD, NASDAQ, or S&P? I do actually trade NASDAQ and S&P on futures. However, this is why I trade the Forex pair on gold. So just looking at the 30-minute time frame, we can look back on this session indicator here, which shows Asia range, London, and New York, right? And just considering that the market on gold started moving from Asia range is the most significant part of why I actually trade it. So in my time zone, Asia range is just around like 5 o'clock in EST, Eastern Standard Time Zone. That is at 8 p.m., right? So I have my charts in 8 p.m. This is when Asia session starts. And you can see this huge volatility that starts from Asia range. Then we have this movement from London session, and we have a continuation during New York, right? There's volatility in each of the sessions. Now let me pull up a different pair. Why not? Let me pull up, let's pull up NASDAQ. I know that yesterday NASDAQ did move, but in normal circumstances, Asia range on NASDAQ looks a little bit more like this, where there's a lot of consolidation when the session starts. London session doesn't always move on NASDAQ. Same thing here. Okay, this is a perfect representation of what happens like 90% of the time, where we have this consolidation during Asia range. It doesn't necessarily move anywhere. Now, why is that? This is because NASDAQ is based off the US dollar. So when New York session comes around and we have that USD news, we get some insane movement. Insane movement. There wasn't even news on this day, actually. This was just a lot of like movement during this silver bullet time zone. And we actually tried to avoid this. Once I saw this happening, took a step back from the charts. But the main idea here is that during Asia range, this pair doesn't move. Same for Euro USD. Why? Because Euro USD is based off the Euro and the US dollar, right? So it'll move during London session because that's when the Euro is active, and during New York session because that's when USD is active. So hopping back to gold, gold is like the safe haven asset. It's the safe haven asset. This is why it moves like crazy during news, right? Safe haven asset, which means that if a currency is likely to lose some of its value, especially during a war, the country invests its money into gold because gold is backed by every currency. It's the safe haven asset. So that's why it moves during every session, right? The JPY banks invest in gold. We have London session Euro is also backed by gold, and US dollar. That's why it moves during every session. And so there's volatility, and the reason why I encourage students to trade this, not only including the fact that it works out for me, is because a lot of students, they try to trade New York, but New York is at like 3 a.m. for them, right? I have some international students. New York is just untradeable. It's just in a time where it's untradeable. London, same thing, right? And they can only trade Asia range. So in this case, gold is that perfect pair if you're not trying to trade some JPY-based pair. It kind of works for everyone's time zone. So if I teach you how to trade gold, you'll be able to apply the concepts in any of these sessions that you choose to trade that work with your invest during war. So that work with your time zone, right? You can trade any of the 3 sessions. And I actually find myself trading most of the sessions. If my move doesn't happen during Asia range, sometimes I trade into London. London's a little later in the evening for me, starts at 11 p.m. It's still tradable though, because it's like 11, 12. I still manage that. New York is in the morning, so I honestly have a pretty good time zone. But yeah, for some people it's untradeable, and that's why I encourage them to trade gold, because there's volatility during every session. The next thing is just looking at the higher time frame, right? Zooming out of these sessions and looking at the movement of gold, right? So I only mark the most recent confluences, so you don't see me marking out everything that happened previously, but look at where gold has been moving, buy side. So most of the time you're safer on the buy side. All you really have to do is wait for one of those weeks where it kind of leaves this consolidated range, taps into a higher time frame, right? On the weekly, this was the most recent fair value gap. You wait until it taps into this weekly fair value gap and you get in for longs, because most of the time you're going to be safe going for longs on a extremely bullish pair. Look at this, another fair value gap. This is XAU USD, but on the futures pair, this did actually tap in and we were able to trade it. So let me pull that up real quick. GC1, this is the futures pair. Yeah, I have it marked out. So you can see that the weekly fair value gaps, almost every single time that it consolidates, leaves that range, and we tap into a weekly fair value gap, we get that move every single time towards buy side. So that's another reason. You're really safe going towards buys. This kind of eliminates the idea of needing a bias. You kind of stay out, and even though there is opportunities for like sell side, there always is on every pair, right? Look at this London session, right? We got the pullback into a discount for value gap right here. There you go. You got your sell side. But the idea is that because of its bullish behavior, you can kind of only expect buy side and continuously trade that. So just looking at like, let's look at today's range. So starting from Asia, we got this huge volatility towards the buy side, right? And then for London, once we started getting that pullback, we have the characteristic of the Judas hour, where it runs in the opposite direction. The reason for the name is because of kind of like ICT's a Christian as well. So he named it after the character in the Bible that betrays Jesus, right? And we have this like betrayal where it runs in the opposite direction. Then silver bullet runs on your target, right, from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. We get that silver bullet run. And in this case, you can see that once we started running into the discount right here, where we have a fair value gap, we tapped into it the first time when Judas hour ran away from our initial bias, which is buy side. And then we got the sweep of liquidity into the midpoint of this fair value gap. So let me pull up a fair value gap right here. You can see that we got the sweep of liquidity into the midpoint. The candles are respecting the midpoint right here, and then we got that continuation. Following the continuation, we also got this new fair value gap. Boom, stretch that out. We got a new order block. And look at this. You basically just anticipate when price starts pulling away, right? We just swept some liquidity right here. You can expect that once the New York session starts, we get some sort of movement in the opposite direction, and then we get the continuation towards buy side. This is typically the behavior in every session. Let me mark this out for you guys. Order block, right? This is what happens typically. We get this kind of movement towards buy side, and your idea is that you wait for this bearish behavior. Once it runs into that bullish confluence, you start looking for that bullish objective once more. So yeah, that's the reason why. You basically just anticipate that most of these sessions are going to have volatility. So you can trade it in either one of these sessions that works with your time zone. So I'm encouraging each of you to find which time zone works for you. Trading is the idea of like freedom, right? You don't want to be stuck on the charts in a time that doesn't work with you. You're not trying to ruin your health to make money, because stress will only make you a worse trader, and that's the truth. It's better to trade a session even without news. Like in Asia range, there's never news on gold, and yet it moves like this. So perhaps you're safer because you're not risking the idea that there's news during New York session, right? News can manipulate on you. If you don't like check or you forget, you can find yourself in a pretty bad position. So yeah, hop in your own charts. See if this works for you. Thank you for watching. Catch you guys next time.